Today is part of our monthly tea series. We do these every month starting from March, and then we have 2 in December. So on the second Thursday of every month, we have a catered tea and followed by a different program. And then the topics change and the speakers change every month. The program is about 2 hours long. It starts off, the first hour is a catered tea with scones and little sandwiches, a savory and a dessert. And after the first hour, then we move into the program. So the second hour is the speaker giving the presentation and followed by a question and answer at the end. And this year, all of the teas are focused around World War I, some aspect of it, ranging from things like the Red Cross to the entertainment industry. Like today's tea was all about Margaret Lehman, who was a nurse in the Red Cross. She was in Europe when World War I broke out, and all of her letters back home to Wood County were published in the Sentinel Tribune. And so Hal Brown, our speaker, he spoke about Margaret Lehman's life and those letters that were sent back home, and it was kind of neat for Wood Countyans to be able to get a perspective of the war, but through the Red Cross nurse's eyes of a woman, and so it was giving Wood Countyans a different perspective of the war.
Margaret Lehman was a native of Bowling Green who was a Red Cross nurse. In 1914, she was in charge of the visiting nurses in Philadelphia, and American Red Cross approached her to take a group of nurses from Philadelphia to Europe shortly after what became known as the First World War broke out. I think it's important to know that people from Wood County were involved in the First World War almost from the time it started in Europe in 1914, even though the United States didn't get officially involved until 1917. And I think it's just important to know what people did then. And I think in most cases we know about the soldiers, the men, but we really don't know a whole lot about what the women did for the war effort. Between her involvement and the local people who took off for their trips to Europe in the summer of 1914, they get caught over there, and so there were all kinds of people from Bowling Green and Wood County in Europe when the war started. Well, 12 nurses. I can't remember what the population of Wood County was in the 1910 census, but that just seems like a lot of people. A lot of these nurses were from the eastern part of Wood County, which seems to be interesting. That's probably one of the lowest populated areas of the county. People from here were involved, and that's kind of been the tradition of Wood County. A few years ago, doing some research on the Civil War, at the time of the Civil War, there were 18,000 people in Wood County in the 1860 census, and 2,000 of those people ended up serving sometime during the Civil War. And it just seems to be that was the thing to do. And there were over 4,000 Wood County people who registered for the draft in 1917. So it was not all of them end up serving, but there's still people involved and ready to do what they needed to do.
Pretty much, we try to get speakers that are local to the area because our focus at the Historical Museum is to show local history, but in a global sense. So even though we're talking about a topic as broad as World War I, we do try to have some aspect of Wood County's history that's blended in there too. We hope that people take away from this event just a little bit of knowledge that they didn't have before. We try to pick topics that are of public interest and things that people might know a little bit about, but we try to expand that into just a little bit broader level, and so far we found that to be very successful. Our maximum capacity for our meeting space is about 66 people that we can seat comfortably. Every tea has been sold out this year, so we're glad that people are being very receptive to this topic, and we've already started selling teas for 2018.